No, still in place as the linesman. So it's George Armstrong. Kennedy looking for this one as well. And number 4, Kelly! Over the line! Oh, a goal by Kelly!
Some players shout. Eddie Kelly walked back and let the grass remember what he'd done. No fist pump, no roar, just head down and silence in his place. Eddie wasn't built for spotlight. He was built for moments that changed everything without asking for anything. Before they even saw his number, he'd already fixed the match. Before they celebrated someone else, he'd already rewritten the ending. He didn't chase the camera. He didn't need to. He knew what happened. And the net knew too. They called it someone else's goal, gave the headlines to another. But those who watched closely never forgot the first touch that turned the final. He never asked for legacy, never spoke loud enough, but when Arsenal was slipping, he was the one who steadied it. Not for applause, for duty. He came on when it mattered, changed the game, and disappeared again the way quiet heroes do. This is Eddie Kelly, the man who made history, then let someone else hold the photo. Subscribe if you still believe football remembers even the names it forgot to honor. Edward Patrick Kelly was born on 7th February 1951 in Postle Park, Glasgow, a district of tight streets, tighter budgets, and a kind of toughness you either learned or got flattened by. He was one of 6 children in a working-class family where football wasn't an escape, it was oxygen. You kicked before you walked, and if you stopped running, someone tougher took the ball. No polished pitches, just gravel, grit, and the sound of boots on concrete. No scouts lining the fences, just neighbors leaning out of windows shouting, "That wee lad can play." He played for Postle YM, a youth side that quietly fed talent south of the border. That's where Arsenal saw him not in spotlight, but in sweat and silence. At just 15, he left Glasgow in July 1966, a single suitcase in hand, a dream too big for backstreets and local glory. He joined Arsenal's youth ranks, still a boy, but already built like a man. By early 1968, he was handed a professional contract. And still, he said little. For 2 years, he trained with older men, kept his head down, waited for the break that wouldn't come as a gift, it would have to be taken. Eddie Kelly made his senior debut for Arsenal on the 6th of September 1969 against Sheffield Wednesday. He was just 18 years old, a quiet figure with fire behind the eyes, not there to dream, but to prove he belonged. No nerves, no theatrics, just sharp passes, firm tackles, and a midfield presence that settled everything around him. That day, Arsenal didn't just test a youngster, they discovered a player who would make consistency look like instinct. And by 1970, he'd already tasted European glory, scoring in the Intercities Fairs Cup final against Anderlecht as Arsenal overturned the deficit to lift their first European trophy. He kept showing up, training like a veteran, thinking like a tactician, working like someone who knew nothing would be handed. By season's end, he wasn't just another name in the squad. He was part of the rhythm, a link in the chain that never rattled. He didn't chase attention. He just chased the ball. And he always got there first. It was 8th May 1971, the FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium, Arsenal versus Liverpool, with the double on the line. The match went into extra time. Tension thick, legs heavy. Every pass felt like it might be the one. Then came the scramble. A loose ball in the box, one deflection, one chance, and out of nowhere Eddie Kelly struck. It wasn't a goal for the cameras. It wasn't clean, but it was historic. He became the first substitute ever to score in an FA Cup final. A teenager writing his name into football's deepest books. That equalizer turned the tide. Charlie George would go on to score the winner, but without Kelly's strike, there would have been no glory, no double, no immortality. And yet, as always, Eddie didn't celebrate like a star. He turned, jogged back to position, eyes already on the next moment. No roar, no ego, just history made and left behind. That goal wasn't the peak, it was the beginning. After Wembley, Eddie Kelly became more than just a prospect, he became a fixture, a midfield metronome who didn't waste a breath or a ball. He played with the lungs of a teenager, the vision of a veteran, and the grit of someone who treated every game like it was owed to him. Not loud like McClintock, not flamboyant like Charlie George, but essential. He did the work others didn't want to admit needed doing. He wasn't there for highlight reels, he was there to keep the engine running, to intercept, to disrupt, to pass without panic. In 1974-75, Arsenal gave him the armband, making him captain at just 23 years old. At the time, he was the youngest to lead the club until a lad named Tony Adams came along. Between 1969 and 1976, he made 175 league appearances, 222 in all competitions, scoring 13 league goals, numbers that barely capture how much ground he covered and how much trust he earned. "Put him in a tornado," a teammate once said, "and he'd still play the simple pass." In the chaos of English football's toughest years, Eddie Kelly was the calm, the control, the quiet that held everything together. Teammate and captain Frank McClintock later said, "Eddie was ice cold under pressure. You could count on him when it mattered." By 1976, the golden years had faded. Arsenal were rebuilding, players moved on, systems shifted, and even the most dependable pieces sometimes get released. As Charlie George once recalled, Eddie didn't talk much, but his boots always spoke volumes. Eddie Kelly had given them everything: titles, tackles, years of sweat. But football doesn't pause for loyalty. He lost his regular place in the side, and in September 1976, he left Arsenal quietly, just as he had arrived. No press conference, no farewell speech, no fuss. He signed for Queen's Park Rangers, adding 28 league appearances before moving again, this time to Leicester City. There, in his first spell from 1977 to 1980, he became a central figure, making 85 league appearances and scoring 3 goals, helping the club win the second division title in the 1979-80 season. Still no spotlight, still no ego. Just a Scotsman doing his job better than most ever noticed. Because even after Arsenal, he didn't slow down. He just kept playing like football was the only thing that ever made sense. After Leicester, Eddie kept moving not down the ladder, but deeper into the game. He earned 3 caps for Scotland's U23 team, never the senior squad. But for a boy from Glasgow, that still meant something. In 1980, he joined Notts County, adding 27 league appearances and 1 more goal to his record. Then came a spell at AFC Bournemouth in 1981, where he made 13 appearances, bringing his same discipline and drive to the South Coast. But Leicester still remembered him. They brought him back a second spell from 1981 to 1983, adding another 34 league appearances to his name. He didn't score at Bournemouth, but he made it count in other ways, closing down space, plugging gaps, keeping the game honest. Then it was on to Kettering Town, a short stop, followed by a final chapter at Torquay United, where he played 35 league games from 1984 to 1986. Where he made just 1 league appearance, a footnote maybe, but even footnotes can carry the same weight if you've played the game right. The crowds were smaller, the pitches harder, but Eddie Kelly? He was still running, still tackling, still playing every pass like it was a final, because that's who he was. No matter the club, no matter the crowd, the standard never dropped. Across those final years, he still found the net 1 goal each at QPR, Notts County, and Torquay. Not many, but always when needed. When the boots finally came off, Eddie Kelly didn't chase the camera. No pundit gigs, no autobiography, no wave goodbye under the floodlights. He simply stepped away. Just like he always had, quiet, steady, unseen. He stepped into the quiet, far from the roar, far from the press. Some say he settled in Devon, working behind the bar, serving stories instead of headlines. But true to form, he never confirmed a word. He didn't sell his story, he lived it once. That was enough. No farewell tours, just memories, echoing through the game like a whisper only real fans can still hear. His name may not appear in official halls, but among real fans, he's immortal. Eddie Kelly never became a household name, but he didn't need to. He wrote his chapter in tackles, in minutes, in moments that shaped history, then stepped out of the frame. He wore the red and white of Arsenal with hunger, with honesty, with heart. He lifted trophies not for glory, but because it was his job to help the team win. He played beside legends McClintock, Radford, Story, George, and they all knew. When things got tough, you gave the ball to Eddie. There were no statues, No Hall of Fame either, not even in Scotland. But some legacies don't need bronze, because football isn't just about stars. It's about men who show up week in, week out, do the job, and walk away without applause, but with dignity. Eddie Kelly was one of them. Still is. If you believe football's soul lives in the names it forgot to shout, but never forgot to respect, subscribe. Because these stories deserve to be remembered.